Live from the South Plaza of Union Station, Kansas City, welcome to the 9th Annual Bank of America Celebration at the Station with the Kansas City Symphony. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for our national anthem, sung by Kansas City's own Ben Gully. Please welcome our host for the evening. He's the signature voice of Hallmark Hall of Fame, the CNBC Network, NFL Films, and Inside NASCAR on Showtime, as well as a veteran of the Vietnam War and Kansas City native. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jim Birdsall.
Good evening. I was once and forever a member of the 2nd Platoon, Bravo Company, 1st Battalion of the 8th Cavalry, 1st Cavalry Division. As I'm sure every soldier does, I have vivid memories of my very first night in the bush with my new company in the Central Highlands of South Vietnam, wondering what would happen, how I would do my job. And I was especially thinking of my home and my family that night, because my first night in the jungle in 1970 was Christmas Eve. On Memorial Day, we salute the memories of every American who has given the ultimate sacrifice in each of our country's conflicts. From the bloody battlefields of the Civil War to the parched deserts of Afghanistan and Iraq. But tonight we take a few moments for a special remembrance of the men and women who served in a war that changed an entire generation and our country forever. We may want to forget the Vietnam War, but we cannot forget, and we must not forget. What can I tell you about Vietnam? For Americans, it was a war that lasted 2 decades. America's involvement in Vietnam was presided over by 5 U.S. presidents. Throughout the conflict, almost 2.8 million Americans served in uniform. Vietnam vets represented almost 10% of their generation, and 240 soldiers were awarded the Medal of Honor. And of those who gave their lives, 35,000 young souls never celebrated their 21st birthdays. Today, the names of the dead and missing are etched on a wall of polished black granite in Washington, D.C. There are 58,267 names. Over time, the war became politically polarizing and emotionally divisive. It led to mass public demonstrations and social unrest. Television screens in living rooms across the country brought the fighting home every night, and the idea of Americans in Vietnam grew increasingly unpopular. These are just some of the simple facts. But Vietnam was anything but simple. Most of us who went over there didn't go to be a hero or even be heroic. Most of the men I served with had the same strong sense of duty that always inspires Americans to answer our country's call, to give something back. Only 1/3 of those who served were draftees. Fully 2/3 of us volunteered to enlist. But for a generation and more of Americans, the conflict in Vietnam has been seen somehow as a different kind of war. It wasn't. It was just war. A place of boredom, loneliness, anxiety, hope, and fear halfway around the world. A strangely exotic land of dense jungle that grew back the moment you hacked your way through it. Rain that never seemed to stop, and mud so thick that with every step you took, you felt like the earth was trying to suck you and your soul right back into it. And for anyone serving there, it was a place where, in the end, victory came to mean only 2 things: surviving and not seeing your buddy die. The Vietnam War has come to symbolize different things to everyone whose life it touched. History's ongoing debate over it continues today. Military blunder or political idealism, an unnecessary war or an idealistic cause. None of that matters on this day. Tonight, we remember and honor the people who served there, the friends and family who were lost there, and the friends and family who came home. And some of them are still lost. Sometimes there are reasons to fight. There have been causes that demanded and deserved our sacrifice, but there are never any good wars, and we must never confuse the war with the warriors. We must never forget what they gave. Coming back from Vietnam, a young Marine wrote these closing lines to a poem. The war is over. Would you do it again? For the love of my country, just say when. There are over 1 million surviving veterans of that war, and we want to give special recognition to those who are with us this evening. If you served in Vietnam or any part of Southeast Asia, I invite you to stand and accept our thanks for your service and dedication to our nation. We honor you. Give me liberty or give me death. Words from Patrick Henry that sparked a revolution. Liberty is the foundation of our great nation. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessing of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, to ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States of America. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Liberty will look easy by and by when nobody dies to get it. These words from George Washington at Valley Forge remind us that we must never forget those who have paid the ultimate price for our unalienable right of liberty. A letter from Abraham Lincoln to a bereaved mother who had lost 5 sons to the Civil War speaks to the conscience of a nation. I feel how weak and fruitless must be any word of mine which should attempt to beguile you from the grief of a loss so overwhelming. But I cannot refrain from tendering you the consolation that may be found in the thanks of a republic they died to save. I pray that our Heavenly Father may assuage the anguish of your bereavement and leave you only the cherished memory of the loved and lost, and the solemn pride that must be yours to have laid so costly a sacrifice upon the altar of freedom. The fight for liberty is an ongoing battle. John F. Kennedy so eloquently challenges a new generation to carry on the torch of freedom in his inaugural address. These words are as meaningful today as they were in 1961. We observe today not a victory of a party, but a celebration of freedom. And yet, the same revolutionary beliefs for which our forebears fought are still at issue around the globe. The belief that the rights of man come not from the generosity of the state, but from the hand of God. We dare not forget that we are the heirs of that first revolution, proud of our ancient heritage and unwilling to witness or permit the slow undoing of those human rights to which the nation has always been committed. Let every nation know, whether it wishes us well or ill, that we shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe, to assure the survival and success of liberty. This much we pledge, and more. And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. My fellow Americans, citizens of the world, ask not what America will do for you, but what together we can do for the freedom of man. Country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing, land where my fathers died, land of the Pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside, let